Hello and welcome everybody to the Pokerfuse Podcast. It's August 28th, 2019. This is episode number 25. I'm your host, Mike Gentili, along with my co-host, Nick Jones. Coming up on the podcast today, PokerStars has announced the return of the PokerStars Player No Limit Hold'em Championship with a new location for 2020. The fall online poker tournament schedules are out, and the online poker companies are putting on a packed schedule of events. GGNetwork has introduced a new feature called Smart Betting that uses artificial intelligence to assist players with their bet sizing.
So for the first time, the Pokerfuse Podcast coming to you live from Barcelona, me and Mike recording this in person, not from the floors of the prestigious Casino Barcelona, not from the lovely Hotel Arts, but from Mike's second floor hotel room, which we deemed as perhaps the quietest place we could find to record this.
Yeah, it's a bit challenging to get a quiet area in a casino or even in a hotel outside the hotel room, but I think we're going to do okay.
Yeah, so we apologise if the quality's not quite up to scratch, but hopefully you can hear us fine. And we are here to, we were here to see the big announcement yesterday, which PokerStars is bringing back the PSPC, the PokerStars Players No Limit Hold'em Championship, in August 2020, so it will be 18 months, 20 months after the last one. This time to be held in Barcelona rather than the Caribbean.
Yeah, so that'll be a big change moving from the Caribbean to Europe. How do you think the players are going to react to that?
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons to move it. I think the Atlantis Resort, nice though it is, a lot of players maybe have become a little tired from visiting there. I think strategically Spain makes a lot of sense. Barcelona is, a fantastic city, great food, great climate. So there's a lot of positives to it. Obviously, I think it does perhaps miss out on some of the glamour for a Platinum Pass hopeful to visit. A tropical paradise like the Caribbean. It doesn't quite have that cachet, but it has other things. For a city place, it's hard to think of somewhere better. So
yeah, the tournament's at a different time of year this time as well, so we don't have the break after the holiday season that it did when it was down in the Caribbean. Instead, we have a perhaps celebration of the end of summer.
Yeah, it was interesting how they announced the details. So yesterday, there was kind of the big reveal that this was coming back. They were hosting during the EPT main event, which is it was day 1B yesterday. They put a pause to have an announcement. Ramon Collias, the winner of January's PSPC, was up there to announce that it was going to return in August 2020, and that the first Platinum Pass, these tickets worth $30,000. The first one was going to be given away to the person who wins an ongoing promotion that they were running all day called Chase Your Dreams, where there were 5 finalists who had been picked to come to play in this kind of celebrity tournament, and the heads-up player was going to walk away with the Platinum Pass. So this was announced, and then the heads-up game commenced on the feature table and on live stream. Yeah,
and at the conclusion, it turned out that there was another surprise.
Yeah, so shock twist, they decided to give Platinum Passes to all 5 of the finalists who turned up. So it genuinely was like a really pretty cool moment. I don't think any of the finalists were expecting it. So I think it worked very well from a PR standpoint. I think the live stream would have been really cool to watch. There were lots of happy faces and a lot of high fives and glitter cannon and all that. So I think from that perspective it worked really, really well, and certainly kicks off the year-long Platinum Pass process kicks it off with a bang.
Yeah, I thought they wove together the Chasing Your Dreams promotion, which is what the event was that was taking place here in Barcelona, with the theme of chasing your dream for the PSPC. I thought they did a really good job of that. They surprised me a bit. After we did find out that the PSPC was coming back, I suspected that maybe not only the winner would get a Platinum Pass, but also his opponent would too, or the runner-up. I didn't expect that they would give all 5, but I guess in hindsight that was a pretty easy call.
Yeah, and honestly, in hindsight, being that this promotion was called Chase Your Dreams, and following your dreams has been a huge part of the marketing drive ever since Ramon came on as an ambassador. Yeah, in retrospect, it's a fairly obvious play, but it worked out really, really well. We certainly suspected that there was going to be a PSPC announcement, and dropped a few hints here and there. But that was a cool surprise for everybody. So what's interesting is that they've, in many respects, they were very coordinated. Perhaps the best I've seen from PokerStars in a long time. In no information up until this point, and in some ways, it was quite fortunate to. Gleaned that this was coming. I think most people were really quite surprised. And then when they announced it, there was a very good coordinated publication of information globally across all their sites. So we're talking even on the PokerStars India site, the PokerStars New Jersey site, all the European sites. Went live with these landing pages. The PokerStars Live website has got lots of details about, well, not lots of details, some details about the event that's going to be taking place in a year's time. And even in the casino itself, we all came out of the room, and all of a sudden there's all this PSPC displays up, video displays that had all been coordinated nicely. So that was really cool. But then once that had died down, we realised that there was lots of information that they hadn't talked about at all, and we still don't know.
Right, and I understand that they want to trickle that information out. Some of it may not yet be determined. Some of it they're just looking to maximize the impact that it could have on its own instead of releasing everything at once. But there are some key details that I think I would like to know as a fan.
Yes, I think the big two the big two numbers from the last time they announced it, that they announced right at the front, and this was the big draw, where they were going to be giving away over 300 of these Platinum Passes, right, which were valued at $30,000, and they were adding $1 million to the first place prize. Right. So instantly, the big thing was, we're creating this super high roller tournament, and we're adding $10 million. There's none of that this time. None of that has been announced. So either they are deciding to announce that later on, announce some of these details later on, or they won't, and it's just going to be a tournament where they will be giving away some Platinum Passes, and they're not going to specify how much, to kind of walk back from, because the difficulty is, once you focused on numbers, the only way you can really go is, they can't go, well, this time we're going to give away 200 Platinum Passes. Everyone's just like, that's rubbish, that's only $7 million or whatever, you know.
Right.
So maybe they want to walk back from that. It'll be interesting to see. I certainly got the impression that so this reveal yesterday, I think, was very good. I think it worked much better than when Daniel Negreanu gave away the first Platinum Pass was in Prague, like December 2017, I think, like just over a year before. And there was so much information, how much they're worth, and he gave away a Platinum Pass to the bubble boy of the EBT Prague main event, and it just got the vibe that no one really knew what was going on, both on the casino floor and people watching on the live stream, because it's so much information to take in. So they may purely just be thinking, let's focus on not the numbers, the branding, chase your dream. They have this great video, Ramon, chased his dream, it's transformed his life, and you could, he was a Platinum Pass winner, which is obviously a huge marketing win. He's now an ambassador. He's a great ambassador in a key market. And they want to focus on that, not perhaps what would appeal more to the pros, which is the numbers or a guarantee or something like that. So maybe it comes later, but maybe they have decided that they're not going to be talking in that way.
I saw over on the PokerStars blog, I believe it is, where they have the PSPC 2020 section, that they have a running tally of how many Platinum Passes they're giving away. And maybe there's plans for them to promote that specific piece to get a buzz created around, how many are there going to be? How many are there now?
Yeah, and that's very cool. They've got this big world map where you can see the different countries of the people who've received platinum passes. There's a big countdown to when it starts, how much has been given away. So again, like the coordination here is much better than I think anything that we've seen from PokerStars in a while. So that's very cool. I think that the first one was a big success in many ways. It was the largest ever tournament outside the WSOP and Triton. It made some really good stories that certainly deserved to penetrate outside of the poker world and into the mainstream. And I think they're going to be armed with a lot more data and a lot more knowledge about what worked and what didn't, from the live streaming, from the branding. I remember the first time around, the branding was very much a celebration of poker, and kind of like, this is PokerStars' way to give back to the community. I think they realised that there had been some missteps, particularly with their live branding, that they wanted to address head on with this big splashy event. There's none of that now. This is very much about this kind of chase your dreams style thing. So they've switched up the branding pretty significantly, and definitely the message yesterday was very different to the message a year ago.
Yeah, and they're looking at this event as I think something that transcends poker. They're really trying to hit at what makes people tick, what excites them in their life. Even with the Chase Your Dream promotion, part of the application process was tell us your story. So they're looking to find people's stories. I think that will then appeal to a lot of recreational players, to a wider audience, and perhaps make it even more of a success.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are some details that we do know that we could go through very briefly. So this will be a €22,000 500, I said that poorly, €22,500 buy-in tournament, which does equate to $25,000 right now. A platinum pass will include 6 nights stay in the hotel, flights, transfer, and some expenses. So these packages are worth €26,466, which also converts to $30,000. So those factors are the same, except they decided to denominate it in the currency of the target country. The next giveaway that they're going to do, so they've just given away 5 platinum passes. The next one that I think is either running from this week or next week, very soon, is Mystery Chest. So it's a link to Stars Rewards. You can earn this special Mystery Chest if you win any hand at a cash game, I think, with Ace 5, which was Ramon's winning PSPC hand. If you get that, you win a chest. This chest you open up, and it could have a platinum pass in it. There will be 10 in total given away, 5 in the international market, .com market, 5 in the French and Spanish market. And these chests, if they don't have a platinum pass in, they will have tickets to start your journey. Let me find the right term for it. Megapath is their branding for like a steps-based satellite system, and you can start those steps. You'll win 50-cent or $2 tickets. So we know all that is lined up, and that's going to be the next thing. And I would expect that W Coop will probably have a few platinum passes for the leaderboard winner, the main event winner, and that'll be in a few weeks' time.
It should. So when it comes to measuring the success of this new PSPC, how do you think that PokerStars is going to look at it, and how do you think the industry as a whole is going to look at it? So last time we had just over 1,000 entrants, was the biggest one ever. Could this event still be a success if the numbers fall short of that, if we get 900 runners for this one and it's not the biggest ever?
Yeah, and I think I would imagine this is probably the biggest conversation that PokerStars had, and one of the main arguments not to run a PSPC, and I think they genuinely debated it for quite a while, was how, it's exactly that. What happens if that happens? Well, people just see it as a flop if the prize pool's just 25 million. And I mean, it's obviously something that operators, worry about all the time, and the top line figures, we always say they're good to look at. We absolutely look at them. We putting the graphs together and stuff, but underneath those data points, it's always going to be describing how much. We don't know how much was given away. You can give away platinum passes to make sure you get people in seats. You can have really aggressive satellite systems. You can change all your spin and goes to be giving away tickets. There's loads of things to kind of juice the numbers. So you can't just look at something as a success or failure based on these top line figures. With that said, I definitely think it's something that PokerStars thought about. My first impression is, again, because yesterday they didn't talk about numbers, maybe they want to move away from that. I guessing being in Barcelona, that's a bigger draw. Like, it's a lot less costly for the pros to go to. So I think last time it was about 1/3, 2/3 mix of platinum pass people and people who direct buy-in or satellite winners.
Right.
So I would think, because it's Barcelona, I mean, you see the thousands of people just here playing now. It's a normal, EPT event. Yes, it's a 25k buy-in, but it's easier for a lot of people to get to and cheaper to stay. And people, it's going to be, see if I find the details here. I think it's 17 or 19 day festival. And interestingly, the one thing they've changed is the PSPC is going to be sandwiched in between the other events, rather than. Was it right at the end of the PCA last time?
It was at the beginning.
Right,
PCA
right at the beginning. Yeah. So this time it's stuck in the middle. So they're going to have the 66-day EPT National, the 3-day Super High Roller, which you just had, then the 5-day PSPC, and only on the final day of that does the main event start for a week. And so I think they're clearly looking at getting people out here for the entire time, and for them, if you're a grinder, that's just one event of many that you're going to be participating in. And I think it does attract, I'm not going to be able to remember the names, but 2 big footballers from this country.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware of this, but come and play EPT events. I'm not sure, PokerStars doesn't make a huge deal about it. I think they almost come of their own accord, and they come and play the 25k. Both of them final tabled it this year. One of them got to heads up. So it's an event that just draws people because it's Barcelona, because it's accessible, because it's an amazing city.
Right.
So that is going to help the numbers regardless of I think how much PokerStars chooses to pump into it.
So how then do you think, if not numbers, if not the number of entries, if not the prize pool, then how do we look at this to determine, or how does PokerStars look at it to determine if they should do it again?
Yeah, it's a good question, I think. And we asked it of the PokerStars execs after the PSPC finished and during it. What numbers are important? Can you justify it? How much are you looking to bring back to online? And I think they very much looked at it as we're not going to just be getting back that 10 million that we pumped into it, but as a branding exercise, it was very successful. Yeah. And as long as we can kind of get it signed off, we'd love to keep doing this, because I think it is a way that the entire company can get behind a fantastic idea.
Yeah. And I think last year, part of what they said they were trying to do was grow the game of poker overall. So not just their company's portion of that, but poker as a game.
Yeah, and it's their best chance of the year to get these stories in the mainstream. And they couldn't have wanted more from the PSPC. They had, as we mentioned, a platinum pass person who won it. Loads of great stories coming out. We're only going back 5 months. It feels like a lifetime ago. But we had the guy who I can't remember now. We had a guy who got his thing through Christmas present.
Oh, right. Yes. With Joey Ingram had tied his going to the PSPC to if they gave this guy.
Yeah. I think the Arlie stuff did really, really well. This platinum pass system is just so conducive to loads of great stories that stretches over a year. And then you've got the tournament itself, which was I think a huge success, loads of great stories there, and a really, really good buzz in the Caribbean, which I'm sure they will have again amongst the media, amongst the staff. I mean, just talking to the staff afterwards and reading Twitter and stuff, they seem genuinely excited about it. It's something that they can all get behind, giving away platinum passes. And we saw it on stage yesterday. These are people, this is huge life-changing stuff, right? Yeah. They're going to be playing a 25k event, chance of winning multi-million dollars, didn't expect it. There is, it's not all just, smoke. It is life-changing stuff for a lot of people. Right. That really comes across. They have a huge opportunity to get that to come across. So, that's what they're going to be looking for, right? They're looking for coverage outside the normal places you'd expect it, headlines that you normally wouldn't expect, great stories being generated for a period of over a year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more qualitative than quantitative when looking to judge the success. But all signs so far are pointing to it being a good start and a great event, and we're looking forward to how it plays out over the coming year. With the end of summer comes the start of the fall season, which has traditionally been a very busy time for online poker tournament series, and this year is no different. We've had schedules released by PokerStars for the World Championship of Online Poker. We've had GGNetwork release their schedule for their big fall tournament series, and we've also seen Party Poker release their schedule. Nick, what are some of the top line figures from the schedules that have been released?
Yeah, so unquestionably it's going to be the biggest month that we've had in, online poker. If we just add up the top line figures, it's going to, blow previous springs and autumns out of the water. W Coup's going to be $75 million guaranteed, which is, interestingly, that's a huge number. It is, $5 million more than the $70 million last year.
That's been a trend, hasn't it? The $5 million bump?
Yeah, what we've normally seen is a $5 million bump every W Coup or Scoop. And so if anything, if we would be skeptic of it or critical of it, is that it's actually the same as what we had in Scoop last time. So they decided not to bump it. It's a little surprising just because they absolutely could. Last Scoop, they paid out over $100 million for the first time ever. The W Coup prior to that, so a year ago, it was like $1 million short of $100 million. So $75 million is not close to what they've done the last few years in actual payouts. They've also expanded the schedule quite a lot, so they have the last 2 years they've had a low tier. So there was absolutely scope to go larger. They opted not to, but it's still a huge amount of money.
Sounds like they might be managing expectations.
Yeah, kind of going back to our last segment. There's they still talk about these top line figures, and so we're going to keep on talking about them. There's a scope also that they might bump it up as we get closer. So with Scoop, it was 70, and they took it to 75. I think I'm getting my numbers right. There's a chance it was 75 to 80, but I think it was 70 to 75, and they added in a lot of events for some of their novelty formats. So there's still scope for that to happen with W Coup, maybe with Swap Hold'em that we talked about last week, maybe with some of their other games that we think they're calling Morph now. We might see that come out. That's W Coup, starts sometime soon. It's definitely still the biggest in the calendar. September the 5th it starts, so that's this coming Sunday, and that's really going to kick things off. Interestingly though, there is another operator that's pretty close on its heels in terms of payouts. Would you like to guess who that is, Mike?
I would like to guess, and I think the common guess might be Party Poker, but I'm going to go with GGNetwork.
It is GGNetwork. I'm thinking maybe you saw that.
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't.
This is pretty staggering to the point that I don't quite understand it, but GGNetwork, they've only been around a few years. They're absolutely growing. The last series they had was, let me get this right, $10 million, which at the time we called pretty audacious for such a new operator. This upcoming series is going to be $50 million guaranteed. Wow. So after PokerStars, W Coup and Scoop, I think it will be the next largest online tournament series ever. Party Poker had one $60 million W Fest last year. It's then Good Game Series Fall 2019, 482 events. The average guarantee is...
How many events?
482.
Wow.
But still, the average guarantee is over $100,000 per event. So it's not like it's just, completely flooded with lower events. They've done this because there are just so many high roller tournaments. I'm seeing if I can find some data here, but it's one of the most expensive tournament series like we've ever seen. We'd have a fantastic article penned by Anajap on Poker Industry Pro where he's done a comparison GGS3 to WCoop 2019. So the average buy-in at WCoop is just under $1,000. At GGS, it's over $3,000.
Wow.
So they have, relying on a huge spread of high volume, high buy-in players to fill these seats. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know where these players are coming from or why GGS has them all, but there we have it.
Well, GGNetwork is primarily Asia-focused, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So those markets are not typically on our radar when it comes to online poker. It's quite possible that online poker attracts a different type of customer in that part of the world, and maybe they're customers with bigger bankrolls.
Yeah, here are some other just unbelievable numbers. Over 50% of all their events are 1K buy-ins or higher. So WCoop has one 25K super high roller on their WCoop schedule. Good Game Series 3 has 14.
Wow.
And they have 67 10K buy-in events.
So are they running a proportionate number of satellites in conjunction with these events as well? So are they giving the small bankroll grinders an opportunity to win their way into these events?
Well, so, I mean, I presume they've got a standard slate. I don't know if there's been especially aggressive. I know that they've only just announced this schedule, and it starts on September 8th, so it's not like they've been ramping up to this for, for months and months. Unless they've had some kind of system where you just win, you win tournament dollars that can be used for something. But I certainly haven't heard anything of that regard. I also know they don't currently have a spin and go, a lottery sit and go type product. They did and took it down, and we think they might be relaunching it. But that's a very common way that you satellite these days. Is you have these special edition ones, and I know they don't have that. So
it's pretty aggressive, ambitious.
Yeah. So that is Good Game Network ahead of Party Poker, who will be running KO series. They've only just released these details, and they still have not released a schedule, so we don't know. We know that it's $30 million guaranteed, which is around the part that they've had their last 3 or 4 really, really big tournament series. It starts on the 8th of September, so we are 10 days away, and we still don't have a schedule, so not quite sure what the hold up is there, but they will be. I mean, just those 3 combined, I think, will probably make it the busiest month, the biggest September we've ever had. On top of that, we've got, all the other operators. MPN has already run theirs. We expect Unibet to do one, though we haven't heard the details for that yet. Winamax has got their largest ever, 14 million euros. And all the European operators, PokerStars has got a Galactic Series in Europe, that's 15 million. Numbers, they're all massive. The Indian market, we just put up a great article looking at all the ones in India. New operators and old have got big series there. So
it feels like every year we're saying the biggest ever. At some point, I think that has to level off. Yeah,
and it's obviously against a backdrop of a fairly stagnant online poker industry where we're seeing some growth out of emerging markets like Asia, fractionally out of India, but even then that's fairly much like the US. It's small gains, and difficulty in the established regulated markets. I think we're past the real surge in growth in the Spanish-French markets. Italy's still segregated. Netherlands is problematic. Swedish new regulated market is expensive. So these are all fairly established problems, and Russia's still causing trouble for certain operators. So I think it's operators doing a much better job of running comprehensive satellites, running good schedules, and having more confidence they'll fill seats. And I think it is them understanding their customers better, running knockout tournaments have been hugely successful, and players really like that. It turns out players love re-entering tournaments, so offering that late reg and just better skill at structuring these tournaments. And
if you look ahead to next year, I would think that we would have at least 1 and potentially as many as 3 online poker series running perhaps in the United States. So we'll have Pennsylvania, with one, perhaps as many as 3 online poker rooms at that point, and the ability to combine them with New Jersey would be the key point there. Legislatively, that may not happen that soon, but that is a way that the operators can continue to grow.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fantastic to see. We certainly saw when the New Jersey market opened some really aggressive schedules coming out of, we had this really interesting one-upmanship between Garden State Super Series, all the G's and S's, from Borgata Party Poker Network, which is one of the smaller of the 3 major networks there, going up against initially
PokerStars.
It was PokerStars, where WSOP obviously took more of a back seat kind of initially, and that went on for a few years, like tit for tat, going one up on their schedules for the the biggest in the state kind of thing. I'm going to guess that operators have learned that was fairly costly competition, and we might not see so much in Pennsylvania. But yeah, it's certainly another new market, and I mean, I agree, I think we're going to have to see this levelling out at some point, but we know that PokerStars has still got growth because they still always do 25% over. So we're going to see that continue to grow 5-10 million each series for sure. Who knows what's going to happen with this Good Game series?
That'll be a key as to what it's going to look like next year. If they are successful, then we might continue to see growth for some time. If, on the other hand, they're not, if they fall way short, it could be a big step backwards as far as top-line numbers go.
Yeah. So what we're going to look at, we haven't quite crunched all the numbers, but we're looking at $200 million in guaranteed prize pools over the period of September across all markets. That's, even if operators were making an average of just 5% on that, that's $10 million in rake that they'll be taking. So that is September. If you play online poker, make sure you quit your job and well, probably can't say it on there. Definitely don't do that, and play responsibly, but you'll probably want to put aside some weekends to grind. So having started this podcast, worrying that it's just going to be PokerStars, it's turning out it's going to be also as much about GGNetwork, because our last feature here we really wanted to just touch on briefly is not only do they run ridiculously large tournament schedules, but Good Game Network are very quick to roll out really interesting, unique features that we don't see anywhere else. And this week was no exception with a new feature that's coming to their mobile client, I think next week, called Smart Betting.
So Smart Betting has... I can see why it would be appealing to players. I can see why it would be something the operator would want to offer players, because it makes the game easier. But I think some of the concerns are, where's the line between coaching or providing advice and providing the ability alone just to make those bets?
So before we get into that, we probably should just explain to our listeners exactly how smart betting works.
Okay.
So normally in particularly mobile, operators will have preset buttons for what they suggest you should bet when you're facing action at a no-limit hold'em game.
Is it really a suggestion, though?
So they will have preset buttons at normally like 50%, 75%, or full pot.
Sure.
Maybe suggestions too strong word, but they're preset buttons.
Yeah.
And I remember when they first came out, even regs were like, "Oh, you shouldn't have that. You're going to get too many like casual players betting the right amount, because half pot, full pot bets are fairly common bet sizing." But I think that's pretty standard, and it's required in mobile because you can't have a user typing in numbers, or even using a slider is really tricky. So it's kind of requisite, I think. Some operators have gone the next step, which is allowing players to customize these buttons. So PokerStars has a fairly complex system where you can say, okay, pre-flop, I want my bet buttons to be like two big blinds, 3 big blinds, or 4.5, and then post-flop, I want it to be 75% of the pot and 150% of the pot. So operators have that, but no one's done what Good Game Network with smart betting is talking about.
Right. So what are they using to dole out this advice?
Yeah, so these buttons are going to be customized on a per player basis. They are using apparently machine learning algorithms to look at what you've bet in the past at different games, and it will then suggest how much you want to bet, give you 3 suggestions based on your previous betting. You can hit a refresh button and get 3 more, this is going to be different on an individual level.
But it is based on your own patterns,
yes,
not on what the machine has observed your opponents.
Correct. So, and this is important. When I first heard about this, I was just like, you can't do this. This is like the operator telling you how to play. It's like giving in-game advice.
Right.
But the more I thought about it, the more I looked into it, I think the key points are the advice it gives you is not based on your opponents, it's not based on your stack size, it's not based on your cards, so it's not going like, oh, this is a great spot to like overbet shove the river, It's just going like, okay, you in the past playing these stakes frequently bet third pot on the flop, so here's a 33% button.
Oh, wow. So it doesn't provide any, well, I won't say any, but it doesn't provide much advice at all. It's simply...
And presumably, being that it's based on your own play, it'll start with defaults at, let's say, 50, 75 and 100. Right. And only when you then start using the slider, so next time you actually go, okay, I want 60%. Maybe then next time it gives you, okay, 60% is your button. So now when you think about it like that, it seems a great idea.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, when you first read about it, when you first hear about it, it definitely sounds like there is some form of advice. But now it sounds like it's just, hey, you've chosen this before, why not choose this again?
Yeah, and it's this is a string of features from Good Game over the last year. They do have an integrated HUD called Smart HUD. They have a built-in staking platform, so you can stake other people in tournaments. They've recently launched, and I think we talked on this podcast, a bubble protection feature. They already have all-in insurance, something that PokerStars has done something similar with all-in cash out. Talked about that last week. They've got, they have an incredible development team to get this stuff out the door so quickly. Really, really interesting product. They have like full built-in like mini games, but not just like a little card matchy thing, like full like computer games. They have this fishing game, which is like this amazing interactive arcade game built into the client, where you can bet on how many fish you can catch or shoot out of the water or stuff. So really cool stuff that they're doing. Obviously helps that they're still kind of growing and upstart and can try these things and move quickly, but I think they are really moving the industry forward in some of their product innovation.
Well, I look forward to seeing some more product innovation coming from them in the very near future. I'm sure they will not be quiet for the rest of the year, and that we'll see some more out of them. And it'll be interesting to see how they compete and how they push the competition to perhaps change the paths that they were on previously. Well, that wraps it up for the week. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. As a reminder, please give us a like and a subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also follow us on Twitter. Nick is at PokerProJones. I am at SpookyBugs. And we'll see you next week.